Hello and welcome to Taking the Baton of Bilingualism and Biculturalism, Student Perspectives on the Impact of Spanish Language Learning. My name is Jameson Stell, and I'm one of the instructional specialists that supports world languages from the Department of Multicultural Education. Today, in this session, you'll have the treat of hearing from some students in our district who speak about their own perspectives on the robust efforts that we as a district here in Palm Beach County have on supporting our Spanish-speaking students in both their bilingual and their bicultural abilities. You'll hear how they're impacted by a number of programs, among them being our world languages programs that are offered at the middle school and high school levels, as well as our dual language programs with over 20 elementary schools, 4 middle schools, and 2 high schools offering Spanish-English dual language programs. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to our students. Enjoy.
State your name and your school.
My name is Michael Placencia and I go to Palm Beach Central High School.
Jazziel Rivera. I study in John I. Leonard High School and I'm in 10th grade.
So my name is Leticia Romero and I am currently a student at Florida Atlantic University, and I also graduated from Forest Hill High School.
What is your heritage?
I was born in El Salvador, so.
Hispanic, I'm Puerto Rican, like my parents as well.
My dad is Cuban. He was born in Cuba, and my mom is Brazilian. So I'm Cuban and Brazilian.
When did you first start hearing Spanish growing up then?
So my grandma has raised me a lot of my life. So while my parents would be at work, she'd be taking care of us at the house. And since she doesn't speak English, she only talked to us in Spanish. So I could say that I've always been hearing Spanish since the day I was born.
Did all my life. I learned English in Forest Hill, but I've known Spanish all my life.
When did you start using Spanish and with whom?
I started speaking Spanish when I was little. My mom was teaching me how to speak Spanish because that was the only language she knew back then.
So again, I would say right around the time I could first speak, who knows, maybe my first word was in Spanish because again, it was just, that's all I heard from my grandma. So anytime I'd be around her, that's all we would say. And more than likely, she was the first person I spoke Spanish with.
Very little. That's my mother tongue. So, that's the language that I first learned. So I started speaking when I was like 1.5 years old.
On a scale of 0 to 5, how confident did you feel speaking and understanding Spanish before you started studying Spanish in school?
I would say I was probably at a 2 or a 3, mainly because I only knew a lot of the street language and I didn't know a lot of the technical stuff. And so school really helped reinforce the small details that make a big difference when it comes to speaking and all that.
Now I feel like a 5. I understand it completely. I know almost everything there is. Some words, like everybody, they're new to me, and you learn throughout the years.
When it came to reading and writing in Spanish, before you started studying Spanish in school, how would you rate yourself on a scale of 0 to 5?
I would rate myself like a 3.5, just because there were things that I didn't fully, learn. For example, accents in letters, right? Some sentence structures in Spanish. So yeah, I would rate myself like a 3.5 before learning Spanish.
So when did you start studying Spanish in school and why?
So I started learning Spanish in school, I believe it was in kindergarten at Forest Hill High School, Forest Hill Elementary. And I was in the dual language program. So half of my classes would be in Spanish and the other half would be in English. And so my parents thought that it'd be good if I could learn a lot of, my culture's language in school. And so I've been doing it ever since.
6. I was 6 when I moved over here, and I kept studying Spanish and learned English here in 2nd grade.
When I was in 7th grade.
Did you consider taking another language, or did you know that you wanted to study Spanish?
I considered taking like French in middle school just because you need like a world language to graduate, for like you need credits to move on into high school. But I felt most confident in Spanish and I just wanted to expand my knowledge on it. So I decided to take Spanish since I was most confident in it.
What specific Spanish classes did you take? Do you remember?
So many of them, it's hard to keep count. I know I took a lot of, I took Spanish Speaks, I took World History in Spanish, I took AP Spanish, which was pretty hard. I took ACE Spanish, AL. I took math in Spanish. I've taken, I would say, basically any class in Spanish.
Spanish 1 and Spanish 2 for Spanish speakers.
So how do you feel studying Spanish influenced you?
Oh, I would definitely think it helped reinforce a lot of the background where I come from. So for example, maybe before studying Spanish, I could still have a conversation with somebody, but it wouldn't be as perfect and it wouldn't sound the same, because school really helped reinforce the little details that helped influence the way I sound and the way I speak. And so I think it really did help.
Spanish influenced me in many ways because I learned that there's different, okay, so Spanish is it's just one language, right? But since there's so many cultures, we don't speak the same Spanish. I speak different from, let's say, Cubans, right? So it made me really have an open mind, and it amazed me how different our Spanish is throughout nations, basically.
Well, it influenced me in knowing more about the different, both languages, because some things in English start the same thing or are spelled the same way as Spanish, so it kind of relates to Spanish and English.
So it's kind of they can transfer, right?
Yeah,
there are some concepts and contents that you can transfer.
Yeah, you can make sense out of words in Spanish from English.
What does being Cuban Brazilian mean to you?
So what does being from El Salvador mean to you?
What does being Puerto Rican mean to you?
It means a lot. I'm very proud of being Cuban and Brazilian. Part of it helps me almost celebrate where my parents come from and appreciate their background, and it adds a new element to my life because it adds diversity and it adds culture, and I just appreciate having that kind of background.
It's really important to me because it makes me feel different, and being different is not necessarily a bad thing. I know that I have a culture that I depend on in many ways and in many times in my life, and I know that my culture is something that I'm going to pass on to my children, and they're going to pass to their children, and it's just something that makes me appreciate being from El Salvador.
It means being to me, I feel proud of being Puerto Rican because it's who I am. I love Puerto Rico. To me, it's a beautiful place. But yeah, my family's all over there. So yeah, it brings a pretty good connection.
How did studying Spanish influence the way that you feel about being Salvadoran?
It made me appreciate where I come from. In my country, we eat our food like pupusas, we eat panes de pollo for Christmas, and I learned that every country's different, and it just made me feel very appreciative where I come from.
How did studying Spanish influence what you feel about being Puerto Rican?
Well, it really it's really important over there because most of the people only speak Spanish. There's barely any people who speak English. It's just kind of a 50-50.
And how do you feel, Michael, learning Spanish will help you in the future?
Well, it'll help for just about anything. I mean, if I want to go apply for a job, they'll definitely prefer somebody who speaks 2 languages over somebody who speaks just 1. And Spanish, especially here in South Florida, is such a common language. I feel like that it helps me connect with people who maybe I wouldn't have the opportunity to connect with, such as, even my grandma or other relatives that don't speak Spanish or that don't speak English. Knowing Spanish and knowing 2 languages helps me connect with them as well as people who speak English.
How do you feel, Yaciel, learning Spanish will help you in the future?
It'll bring me a lot of benefits, like better jobs, because not many people know 2 languages or 3. So it's kind of like an advantage because you can help people in English and help people in Spanish. So like if they need you for something, you can just say, okay, yeah, how may I help you?
So what activities or learning experiences do you feel help you most in your Spanish classes?
Honestly, like reading it now, like if I read it and like listen to it, it helps me a lot because some words I don't know, and it just makes sense. Like if you try and say it in English, and you say, oh, it makes sense now.
Some of it has to do with the teachers themselves because us as students in the United States, all we talk to each other is in English. So while we might be in a Spanish class, sometimes what ends up happening is the students after school end up talking to each other in English. And so it really comes down to the teachers instructing us and talking to us in Spanish that helps build that kind of foundation that helps somebody learn the language. And, you know, that's really what helps, in my opinion, the most out of anything.
I don't know if this can fall onto that, but I remember in 8th grade, my Spanish teacher, she hosted this really big event for like the Spanish community, and the whole school was invited, and we got to dress up, you know, we got to dance and perform in front of everyone. We danced cumbia, we danced salsa, and we had food from like all over, you know, the Spanish community from Colombia, from Mexico, and it was just something that really impacted me, and I remember to this day because we got to express who we are as a Latino community.
What advice would you give to a student like you who's considering studying Spanish?
I would definitely say go for it. I mean, knowing 2 languages will always be better than knowing 1. And I really couldn't think of one reason why it might be a negative thing to, you know another language, especially Spanish, because it's so common. And give it time. At first, it might seem super hard and super complicated, which it probably is. But the more you go at it and the more you study, the more you work, it'll get better and you'll definitely appreciate it later on in life.
Go for it. Just because we live in such a multicultural country and like diverse, that learning a second language is just necessary right now, right? In Spanish, we see Spanish everywhere, you know? So I would really just say go for it and learn as much as you can, because being bilingual is such an advantage in our country.
I'd say go for it, like really go for it. It's amazing knowing 2 languages, and like I said, it brings so many privileges and advantages and so many great things.
What are your plans, Michael, for after you graduate or a career?
Right now I'm a little bit indecisive. I like business, I like math, so I might pursue something that has to do with a mixture of those 2 things. And I like doing stocks and accounting and real estate. All that stuff interests me, but I'm really trying to figure out what it is that I specifically want to do. And it's tough because I understand that by picking a career, it's something that I might have to do for many years, you know, decades of the same job, let's say. And so it's a little bit intimidating, and it's something that I'm really trying to think. And I don't think that I'll be able to figure it out until I'm really there doing it and working on it to see how much I really like it.
What are your plans for after you graduate or a career?
I'm gonna go to college after I graduate, and I'm gonna keep studying Spanish and maybe another language as well.
So I am currently majoring in elementary education, and my plan is to, you know, go into the field and help as many students as I can, especially my English language learners, just because I was an English language learner and I know that Spanish will definitely be of advantage for me. You know, for example, when I have meeting with parents and they don't speak English, Spanish will be such a great tool for me, you know? So I am really excited about that. And yeah, just to help my kiddos in the future.
From 0 to 10, how do you feel your experience about being, learning into dual language programs and world languages, and what is the feeling that you have?
It feels great. Like, it's amazing. It's kind of hard balancing 2 languages, but it's still worth it. It's completely worth it.